What made you want to buy a TW, Harry?
Drink, I think. Yeah, you've got to be in the right mood for the crash box.
Richard knows exactly where the back of that trailer is, look.
But I don't know how he does it. Yeah, and
he must have his eye here somewhere, and he's lined the front of the tractor up with something here.
He's got a mark
he's
on
got
us
that
somewhere.
Bang on.
Because he knows. He does know, fair dues.
I'm Ed Farquharson, A M Farquharson. We are in Seasden, which is about halfway between Bridgnorth and Wolverhampton on the Shropshire-Staffordshire border. We are a family business. I'm the third generation. My grandfather came here to Beach House Farm in 1946 when he came out of the army as a farm manager. He managed then to, over the years, then to take the farm on and eventually bought Beach House. Then my father and my uncle came back to the farm after college in the 70s. They carried the business on, expanded it along the way, and then I came back here in the early 2000s. And yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to carry the family business on, which I'm very proud of. We grow in potatoes, wheat, barley, oilseed rape. We grow a little bit of beet for stock feed and AD, and we grow pumpkins for pick your own pumpkins. When my grandfather came here, there was 13 horses and 13 men when Grandad came here. And I think the total of the farm then was about just under 300 acres. And I suppose then it was easier to make a living if it kept 13 families and my grandfather. And now we're farming. It changes a little bit each year, but we're farming somewhere around about 1,000 acres. And there's me. Dad is still very much involved. My uncle's still there when we need him, although he's taking a little bit more of a back seat, but he's very much still there. We've got Izzy in the office. Well, say Izzy in the office. Izzy's everything really. She does a lot in the office. She does a lot of organising, all the paperwork, all the legislation, everything like that. So she's on that side of it. And then we've got Harry, who's sort of, well, yeah, does a lot of most of the tractor work. And then we use sort of self-employed operators or contractors then to fill in when we need them.
Right, Harry, well, I've finally managed to get you for an interview. You've been trying to get out of it for, what, 3 years now?
Done a pretty good job of getting out of it though.
So how long have you been here doing this now then?
I started 2 years ago at Christmas. Fancied a bit of a change.
You came from a contracting background, as we know.
I did.
You have featured in a video before, you just didn't do the talking.
I got out of it on that one, didn't I?
So you fancied a change. What made you want to come and do a bit of this?
I worked for a contractor for 10 years and thought it was probably time to have a go at something a bit different, see if I could actually grow something.
Yeah, you built a few pits in your time, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, I could do that. I missed that bit. That bit was all right.
So since you've been here, you sort of took on, well, you've took on quite a few of the important tractor driving jobs, haven't you? You took on all the planting and... Yeah,
it wasn't the intention really. I came originally under another lad who drove the planter and the drill, but he went off doing something else. So they asked me. We've given it a go. Don't think I've made too much of a mess of it yet.
Well,
yeah.
all the spuds are here anyway, mate. So
spuds are here, yeah. Kind of got it too wrong.
You've also took on the role as harvester driver.
Well.
This is your second year on the harvester now, isn't it?
Oh, come on. I only did a bit last year. Don't put that on me. That should mean that I'm good, and I don't know whether I am yet, quite.
Well, you've been put back on it this season, so you must have done something right.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting it too wrong.
So what sort of acreage are you growing altogether now then, spuds-wise?
Spuds, we put in a few more this year. We put in 250. Before we planted them, thought, yeah, that'll be fine. And then planting them, you think, oh, 250s. Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. The weather's been too dry.
Hasn't been the best year for growing spuds, has it really? You speak to anyone, they'll sort of tell you the same.
Yeah, everyone's struggled a fair bit, haven't they? Taking them away wise, we haven't had any rejected or messed about with. It's just when they want them and where they're sending them to, and it is a bit better now we've had a bit of rain. You can get a bit of soil to go up the web with them, but there was a lot of worry about bruising at the start. To be fair to the trails, they do seem a bit kinder on them for whatever reason. They've got, in the self-propel, they have to change direction so many times. I think it's harder on them. Not saying it's just a freak year, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we don't really, as a rule, get years like this consecutively, do we? But
So it's harder to get the soil to travel up the web when it's dry then, is it?
yeah, when we started, I had like no shake on any of the webs, and it just all drops out on the digging web. So then whatever touches the tater, it's got nothing to protect it, really.
There's not really much you can do about that, is there?
Absolutely nothing, no.
All of the varieties you grow are for the crisping contracts.
Yeah. they
You're
all
obviously
go for
dealing
crisp.
with a smaller spud then?
Yeah, we try and grow more smaller spuds just because the specs are quite difficult. They don't want them too big. Obviously, if you open a bag of crisps and they're huge, all they do is break. So trying to keep them, grow quite a lot of a smaller spud, just to do with the spacing, really, planting them. Try and give them enough room and get tuber counts there without them getting massive is the idea.
So the spud job has become a very big part of what we're doing now. We've always grown potatoes here since my grandfather came here. Everything went into bags for the local markets and chip shops. Being where we are on the sort of urban fringe, really, I suppose, not too far away from Wolverhampton, all the potatoes used to go into Wolverhampton market and make their way to outlets from there, probably right up until probably into the 90s. We were bagging everything. Then we started growing a little bit of pre-packed stuff for a small firm in the Black Country. There was us and another couple of local farmers supplying them. That worked really well. Everything was dug into boxes. It was easy at the time, so didn't need so much labour. They unfortunately then, as with all these small firms, they packed up due to market pressure and that sort of thing. So then we supplied somebody else with the same sort of thing and really sort of slowly grew it, but we sort of hit a ceiling really with that at about sort of 70 acres of potatoes. Then we started going back into growing processing potatoes for sort of general sale and did some of the first contracts that we'd ever done, probably in the mid to late 2000s. I think probably I've learned an awful lot about the potato industry and got an awful lot more to learn because it's a challenging industry. We didn't come out some years very well due to all sorts of factors really. Market factors being the main one, I suppose. Who you're selling to also was a big one. You soon learn there's a lot of people that you don't want to deal with anymore, and I suppose really I almost became quite disillusioned with it probably 6 or 7 years ago due to a lot of those sort of factors. So we were very fortunate to start growing a few potatoes for Spearhead Marketing, who we now grow everything for. That has given us the confidence to push the job on a bit further. I think a combination of Spearhead's sort of commitment to us as growers and to the industry has given us the confidence to push forward, rent more land in, to expand the potato crop. The land that we're farming in this area, and most of the land around here, is light sandy loam that is very much suited to growing root crops. Potatoes in particular, in a dry year, some's got water, some hasn't. It's still a challenge. You can fit varieties. As long as you fit the varieties to the unirrigated stuff, it's quite useful. They can still produce. This year's been a challenge, but cereals wise, the potatoes are leaving a much better margin behind, whereas cereals, so we saw the future to go more down the potato route rather than expand the cereals. You know, we've sort of got contract farming agreements at times. That job has changed a lot recently. So, you know, we've got to grow cereals and we're committed to them, and we will do them if customers require them and that sort of thing. But the potatoes are where we see the future of the business. All the potatoes that we grow are for crisping. They're supplying 4 of the major crisping factories in the UK. So variety-wise, we're growing Lady Rosetta, Cinderella and Taurus, all good varieties that are proven with ourselves and the market. The Lady Rosetta are the earlier ones. We start lifting usually around mid-August, 3rd week in August, something like that. The Rosetta will take us through more or less the end of the fresh season. The Cinderella leave us fresh as well, so straight to the factory, and the Taurus go into store. They're actually sort of 20 miles away in someone else's store, which has worked for us in the past. Potentially, I think now we're into that job a bit, we may be looking towards possibly putting up some of our own storage just to give us more control, and that would sort of be the final piece of the puzzle really, would be to store our own spuds. We're growing varieties we're happy with. The Rosetta will fit in an unirrigated and an irrigated situation for us. Irrigated ground is becoming very difficult to find without travelling 50 miles. Potato ground in general is becoming very difficult to find through one reason or another. We have had a challenging season this time with the weather. I think we had, during the growing season, from when we planted the potatoes through to when they eventually gave up, I think we only had, I should have checked this, I think we had about 50 mil of rain through the whole of the growing season, which is nothing. Irrigators where we could irrigate never really stopped for 3 or 4 months. Where we couldn't irrigate, obviously this caused some problems. Our yields have been very variable this year. Rosetta, for instance, I think our lowest yielding, we delivered about 9 tonne to the acre into the factory of Rosetta off unirrigated land. And I think the best we did was about 26 tonne to the acre of Rosetta off irrigated ground. Obviously that's caused challenges with various things. Size has been a problem. Some potatoes have been a bit too bold for some factories. Some potatoes have been too small for some factories. Dry matters have been an issue. Obviously very high dry matters in unirrigated stuff. You know, not able to lift in advance. We've had to lift literally 2 order on the day because there's been issues with bruising high dry matter potatoes. I think this year we've got away with the bruising issue quite well, simply because we've been running a trail GT harvester, and I'm not saying that self-propelled has been an issue, but I think just through the nature of a self-propelled machine, they're on them a lot longer, there's further for them to travel, they're going up, you know, upstairs into a tank, into a bunker, into a trailer. I think you're bound to have more damage issues. Self-propelled is the route we want to go down, but I think this year's probably proved to us that I think you always need a trail harvester in the shed as well, just for that. Manage it. It's something else. It's like everything else in the potato job. It's managing what's in front of you at the time. And as much as you sit down at the start of the season and this is going to be this and this is going to be this tonnage and this, we're going to lift it then and all the rest of it, everything that happens that's out of our control, mainly the weather, it changes everything daily. And we found that throughout the growing season this time. We were having to change what we were doing on a daily basis just to make sure that we were sending the right product to the right place in the right condition. Because of crops being very different, we've had to blend some fields together, and with fields being sort of I suppose we're growing within a 10-mile radius of home. It was very difficult just having one harvester to be lifting in two places at once to keep the grader running. So we actually bought a second machine just at the start of this season from a neighbour that had come out with potatoes a few years ago, and a friend of mine really is, and we knew the machine, knew it hadn't worked for 3 years. They decided to sell it, and we thought, we literally just picked the phone up and said, well, we went and fetched it, and that was that. It's an older machine, it's a 2008, I think, but it was a tidy machine for the money we paid for it. It's been great, and it's just given us that flexibility to be able to lift in two places, or to sort of get on when we've got a lot to do. We can get on in the morning, get trailers filled up quickly and get the grader running.
Has it been harder this year because you've had to dig, well, sort of had to be in two places at once?
Yeah, it's been difficult in we didn't really know what quantity was going to be on the unirrigated ground. Ed did buy another harvester, so that's been a bit of a help, being able to be in two places if we have to be, and if we're on the stuff that was unirrigated that perhaps hasn't done so well, at least we can lift them a bit quicker so lorries aren't waiting. Hopefully not waiting for us. We try our best as they're not waiting for us.
I suppose it takes the pressure off a bit, having the two running.
Yeah, it's just if they are a bit smaller and you have to go a bit further for a load, obviously it takes longer to put a load on. We had Dan Lloyd come and have a go on it, to be fair, he's pretty good. And she went well actually, she's 10, this is a 2018 machine, and the other one is 2008, so there's 10 years between them. But no, she went all right.
So they're slightly different then, there's just got a bit of age between them, has there?
Yeah, the control box is obviously, this one's quite a lot fresher, and she's only single multi-sep. It's just a transfer web behind the main web. But in fairness, it was putting them over pretty clean actually. You couldn't grumble about her. For the age that she is, she goes all right.
I suppose you notice a bit of a difference with the wheel drive though.
Yeah, we've only had her on flat field so far.
And you're running the topper on the front of the machine as well.
Yes.
Well, you're not using that all the time, so are you just sort of carrying that and using it as and when you need it, or?
Yeah, to be fair, she's dealing all right with the top at the minute. When we started, we were using it quite a lot more. Obviously, it's another cost to have it running, so if I can get the top out with the harvester, we just leave her on the front in case we do need her, because we'd have to have a weight block, if not anyway, so.
What, does it get to a point the graders start shouting at you, do they? There's too much top and...
They haven't shouted yet. You can tell if Richard starts frowning at you, you think, oh, maybe that's a little bit too much top. Maybe we'll put the topper in now.
I see she sets that left-hand wheel out as well.
Yes.
That's something the other one doesn't have, isn't it?
No, that is good, to be fair. So much narrower on the road.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. The other one, she's out all the time, which obviously opening up, you have to run that wheel down the middle of the next bed, which isn't too bad on a dry year, but would be a bit of a pain if you had to do it all the time. At least like with this one, you can get in the field and I can just keep the wheel in and windrow, so we don't have to run down any of the beds with any wheel marks.
So running Grimme harvesters, trailed GT 170s. We've run a Grimme for the last 3 seasons. Been very, very pleased with it. We bought the machine second hand, the first one's 2018, that actually came off a farmer not too far away. Hadn't done a lot of work. It's very reliable. It's obviously dependent on how you've got it set up, but Harry's very good with it, very conscious of bruising and damage, and we make sure, we put the electronic potato up it every so often to make sure that we're not knocking everything about. But no, spuds always come back to the yard clean. Gives us big help with grading when they're coming back clean. Even last season, season before last, it was very wet, it did a great job. We're lucky as well, we've got good backup with the Grimme. Grimme sort of main dealer is only up at Shrewsbury, and then SOS Agricultural look after all all the mechanical side of it, servicing, breakdowns, all the rest of it. We do you know, in-field stuff ourselves. We can do that, but we like to have SOS go around the machine at the start of every year, go right through it. They know what they're looking for. And to be honest, the last 2 seasons, we haven't had a breakdown that stopped us for longer than half an hour. And I think that's just due to the quality of the machine and the way that it's gone through at the start of the season. So downtime, you know, is kept to a minimum. And when you've got loads booked to go that day at that time, you can't afford to be, oh, hang on, the harvester's broken down. So no, we go around it every morning, or Harry does every morning, you know, so we can, and at night. So if we find something at night, it's not like jumping on it in the morning and going and then finding a problem. If we've got a problem when we're finished, we can usually resolve it in the evening and then get going again the next day.
I see you like to keep the harvester moving all the time then.
Yeah, we try to.
Even when you're waiting on trailers, I suppose the beauty of this machine is you can windrow.
Yeah, just makes it faster loading when you do get a trailer back as well. At least you're taking 2 beds instead of 1.
The harvester, did she take much getting used to? You got the hang of her now?
I think I have. I'm trying to. To be fair, it's like anything, isn't it? The more time you spend on it, and I've had some fairly long days on it, so probably shouldn't be allowed near it if I hadn't got my eye in roughly about now.
So what's the main thing you have to keep an eye on then as harvester driver? What are you altering and changing as you're going along?
Just like agitation on the web, just got to pick what looks right. I leave that highlighted so you can just keep trimming it up and down. If one end of the field's a bit heavier than the other. You'd be amazed at how different one field can be, like from one side to the other. One end can be a bit sticky and the other, and you don't need any agitation on it all really. There's a lot that's auto on it, like the levelling. The other one doesn't have auto levelling. You don't realise how much that does for you. Like you'd think you're in a flat field and they all run to one side of the web, and obviously you can't clean them as well. But she is pretty good. She does a lot of it herself. What
have crops been like this year? Because obviously you're growing on some irrigated ground. Have you seen quite a dramatic difference this year? I would suppose you would have done.
Yes, on the unirrigated stuff. Well, the irrigated stuff, it just didn't rain at all, did it? And like, I know we've got water, but it's not a 2-minute task to get water on everything. Yeah, I hadn't done a lot of irrigation, but you learn pretty quick when you have to try and get round.
I expect you've learned this year.
Yeah, you learn how not to do it anyway. You learn quicker how to make it difficult for yourself than easier. But it hasn't been too bad. Just like everyone, I think you have to try and make the best of it, don't you? Keep your chin up. It hasn't been great, but try again next year, I suppose.
So how does it work with the grading then? Say you've got a lorry early tomorrow morning, can you fill trailers the night before, or how does that work?
The group don't like you to. It all depends on conditions. You try and be as gentle as you can, everyone does, don't they? But they reckon the bruising takes 24 hours to actually come out, which by that time they've already been cut and fried and are already crisp. So we try and work with them as best we can on that. Worst comes to worst, you start when you have to start, don't you? You know how it is.
How many trailers are you running altogether?
4 16-tonners. We've borrowed another trailer off a chap from just down the road as well. So 5 16-tonners and a 14. Try and dig to keep so the grader isn't waiting. We've got a tractor in the yard that will tip them on the grader, so we just fill trailers and drop them off and grab another one, which seems to work the best. There'll be the odd day if we're close, we can have the tractor that's on the trailer tipping it. But as a rule, we've got a tractor in the yard that we'll use to tip them.
So grading wise, we bring everything back home here to Beach House to be graded. We're running a tong grader. It's a bit vintage really now, but it's a 6-foot tong grader that's done us well. Everything goes over that. Obviously with the crisping stuff, the majority of stuff has to be well, it all has to be washed if it's going straight into the factory. When we started growing crisping stuff, before we sort of got into it properly, all the potatoes were going away to a third party to be washed, which was fine. But again, it's like everything else. We soon realised that if you didn't have control of what you were doing, that you'd be at the mercy of someone else when they could do things. It didn't always fit in with us. So 2 years ago, we decided to put our own washer in, which has worked really well. We've been really pleased with it. It was a second-hand washer with the picking off and everything that we set up. So basically now we run 2 lines. There's one wash line and a dirty line if they're going into store. It doesn't take long to change over between the two. So whilst we're grading, I'm back in the yard all the time. I sort of look after the grader, sort out the lorries when they turn up. There's all sorts of issues, and I think as the farmers, we don't always see it from the point of view of all the other things. You know, we're always pushed to have everything at an exact time. Quite often that can go wrong. You know, if you're waiting for lorries, which happens, but then from the haulier's perspective, there's accidents on roads, they have breakdowns, they have the last tip they were on, you know, was broken down or whatever. It's a challenge, but I think keeping in touch with hauliers seems to be a full-time job during the season. You know, you need to know when lorries are going to be there, because obviously we've got six staff on the grader. We always have some on the dirty end of the grader, and then after the washer, so usually 2 on the dirty part of the grader, and then 4 on after the washer. So, you know, if we've got staff standing about because we're waiting for lorries, which again does happen, you know, it's an added cost to the job that soon racks up, really. So keeping everything moving is a challenge. But yeah, I sometimes don't seem to do a lot other than wander around on the phone, but it's it's got to be done. Yeah, and it's challenging, but then again, I'm there. Usually the lads come back in, we'll drop trailers just to keep them going. So they'll drop a full one, pick up an empty and go. Then I've usually got a tractor in the yard. I'll shunt the trailers about, tip the trailers. I'm about then if there's a problem, or just to keep an eye on what's going on. And to be honest, I like to be here because the point that they leave here is the last time we see them. And I think it's important that, you know, you've got to be happy with what's leaving, and you've got to be confident in what you're sending and happy with it. So it's important, I think, to be there to cast your eye over the finished product, really.
And how do you find your 720 for the job?
She's golden, to be fair.
Yeah.
She's all right. It's plenty big enough. I don't think you need anything any bigger.
Because you're running a mix of Fendt and Massey here.
Yeah, I'm not too, you know me, I'm not too worried. If it's got seat and a steering wheel.
As long as it does the job.
As long as it does what I want it to do. Yeah, we've got an A740 which does like the ridging and the heavier tillage work, and that'll be one of the newest. Then we've got a 7719 which is lugging with us today, a 6499 and a 7495.
Proper tractor.
They're good, to be fair.
Yeah.
You can start them up and don't have to wait for a beep and press something on a screen, and they're pretty good. You were allowed on the 99?
Yeah, I was allowed to do a day on that on the Subaru, weren't I?
She's
I got trusted with her.
She's the favourite.
I can see, yeah, the main man's always got a smile on his face when he's driving that one.
It's his baby, that is. She'd lug the most of the spuds, to be fair.
Oh, she puts the main shift in, does she?
I don't think we've done a day where she hasn't been out.
How many hours has that tractor done now then?
Oh, you'd have to ask him. I think it's about 6,000. To be fair, it's kept, well, you know yourself,
Yeah.
it's kept
yes.
pretty well like new.
Yeah. That day I soon got the brush and cleaned the floor out because
Oh yeah,
I didn't want
yeah.
it,
If you're allowed
I didn't want to be
driving,
the one that made a mess.
don't leave her in a mess. No, she is smart, to be fair. It is nice. The 95's tidy. Consider that was the first tractor that Ed had when he used to run 2 square balers and a chaser.
Right.
So she was on a baler. She's no 8 plate. She's done. She's done about 11,500 hours now. And to be fair, she's been all right. He had at about 4,000 hours, a pipe came off the oil feed to the gearbox, which I suppose is just luck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, through no fault of her own, really. So she has had a gearbox. Mrs. Vario. She seems to be behaving herself now. She's pretty good, to be fair. For these kind of jobs, the Fendts are good, to be fair, with a bit more tech on them, like for the drill and the fert spinner and section control and all of that.
So you're just running the 2 Fendts now then?
Yes, just the 2 Fendts.
720 and...
720 and a 724.
Would this tractor just stay on the harvester? You haven't got to be swapping and changing things around?
Yeah, we haven't had this tractor that long. Before, what they used to do was you'd have to try and dig spuds in the morning, take the row crops off, put the wides back on, then go drilling in the evening, or whichever way around it worked. And it just became a bit of a nightmare, really. You'd spend more time changing wheels than actually doing the job. But like this can just stay on the row crops, and then the 724 can do a bit of trailering, and then when we want to go drilling, at least it's still on the wides. It's not the most fun task changing wheels all the time. Like, it seems to get heavier and heavier every time you do it.
You wouldn't want to go back to that now, would you really?
No, it's nice just being able to have one doing one and one doing the other.
Have they given any troubles, these Fendts, or not?
Yeah, just what do we have on this? An air leak under the cab for the suspension, but nothing. Touch wood, nothing too major yet. They seem to like the solenoids for the PTO and the 4-wheel drive. They seem to go fairly regular, but I think it's just one of those things. Everything breaks down, and
That's just modern technology.
yeah, that's the beauty of the 95. It just sort of does what you ask it to do. There's nowhere to plug a laptop into it. It's all a bit more spanner orientated.
You'd go back to driving your TW full time, wouldn't you, mate, if someone gave you the chance?
Oh, I'd want a back window. I'd want a back window.
What is your personal tractor, Harry? Tell everyone.
It's the noisy old Ford TW20.
What made you want to buy a TW, Harry?
Drink, I think. Yeah, you've got to be in the right mood for the crash box. That is, you didn't seem to get on. You weren't bad.
I was all right. I was sat in the road maybe a little bit longer than I'd have liked to have been, trying to find something to make it move.
Yeah, it's like a broom handle and a barrel of coconuts, isn't it? But as long as you keep crunching around, you find one that you like. It was never really meant. Well, it was meant as a toy, to be fair. It was never really intended to do too much. My brother's had it a bit post-knocking and something. Yeah, I haven't really done anything with it. I'd ought to do a bit more with it, really. We'll get you lugging grain on it next year.
Well, you have let me down a bit, because I thought we'd have it on a trailer lugging a few spuds for the video, but the issue was we didn't really fancy spending a whole Sunday taking the edge cutter off, really, just to put it back on again, do we?
No, that's a deadly task on that thing. Deadly.
So tractors wise, we've been Massey since the mid-90s. We had a 6170 was the first Massey we actually bought, which is closely followed by, I think, the 3080 that you've seen. That's a little bit poorly in the shed at the moment, but we bought that second hand, and ever since we've been with Massey. Dealer wise, really, at the time was one reason for the change. I think we went from Case. This was back in I think it was 95 it would have been. Dad was running Case. Like the Case, always good tractors, but the technology at the time was better on the Masseys. There was a bit more that you could do with them. So that was the reason for the change. Then we were all Massey then, right through till 2019, where we just did sneak a Fendt in. I suppose that was me a bit. I like the idea of some of the stuff that the Fendt could offer. So we changed over to we hired a 724 to see how we got on with it, liked it, and then that one was changed for another 724 that we hired, which is this one actually. So the second one, we actually ended up buying that one. And then we run a 720 as well. For the more precision work, I like the Fendt is good. The technology is good. I'm not saying it's the best. It's good. It suits us. For the potato harvesting work, the gearbox and the way you can set it up and the way that harvester works on it is fantastic. It's not that the Masseys couldn't do it. I just think that when you sat in there for 10 or 12 hours a day, the way that it operates on the Fendt is just, well, better in my opinion. It's smoother, everything just happens, the way you can set everything up, the way it can all be done. And again on the planter. Nothing against them though, I wouldn't want a yard full of them. They are more expensive to run than the Masseys, simply through servicing and that sort of thing, servicing and parts really. But having said that, you know, they will hold on to their second-hand value really well with high hours on. Historically, when I was a kid, if Dad had a tractor that was 3 years old with 3,000 hours on, that was it, it went. We are running tractors a lot longer now. We've got a 6499, that's Dad's tractor, no one else is allowed on that. Not as I think that's a keeper though. That's too good to sell, that one, so I think that'll be here for the rest of its life. The 8740S, brilliant tractor, absolutely brilliant. Again, it was second hand, that had done 3,000 hours when we bought it. Chandler's at Bridgenorth found that for us. Just brilliant, seemed a great big tractor to have when we sort of bought it, but I wouldn't be without it now. It's mainly on, it pulls the Torano in front of the drill. Again, do we need 400 horsepower on that Torano? Not all the time, no. But wherever we go, whatever depth we're working at, you can go up the hills just as quick as you can go down them. It doesn't mean you've got to pull it at 20k. You're just doing the same speed all the time, covering the ground quickly in front of the drill. And everyone loves it. It's very powerful, puts the power down well. With it being second-hand, when it arrived, we didn't actually see it. We sort of bought it off pictures and a bit of trust, which was fine. It was great. Did notice on the pictures, but didn't take that much notice. She's only on 650 tyres. So when we got it here, we thought, well, really, it wants sort of 710s or bigger on it to get the power down. But it's just unbelievable how on small tyres it puts the power down and doesn't really scratch or make a mess, or it just goes. So no, that's been a good addition. As I say, wouldn't be without it. But no, we like the Masseys, and I can see that going forward. I think the fleet will probably stay something similar. I think everyone's happy with what we're doing. Only problem is, I suppose, doing the jobs that we're doing, it's difficult to stick on one tractor all the time, which is a bit of a shame because I like having a driver to a tractor, but it just doesn't work out all the time. I can't see us buying new tractors again. It's nice to find sort of good low-hourred second-hand stuff. No real replacement policy, just sort of if something comes up and the deal's right and the tractor's right, then we'd look at it.
You've managed to steer clear of the pumpkin job anyway, Harry. You managed to
through no fault of my own.
You managed to keep yourself busy on this. You managed to stay away from the whole pumpkin side of the business, but we can't hide from the fact that that is a big part of the farm this time of year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's it's good. It gets people out. It's just the yard space really. The yard looks big until you park 50 cars in it, and they soon start taking up some room. But no, it's good. Everyone, to be fair, Ed's sister and Mum does a lot towards it. Obviously, Izzy's done some towards it this time. Everyone gets stuck into it.
So pumpkins, yeah, that was something that happened by accident, really. Like everyone now, farms have got to diversify is the big word, isn't it, these days? And yeah, it is necessary, unfortunately. And it was 2019. I was driving through a local village at night, and there was pumpkins and kids trick-or-treating everywhere. And in honesty, Halloween was nothing that as kids we'd ever done or ever really. And I thought, well, it's a big thing, this is. It seems to be getting a big thing. And then just looked and thought, I wonder how easy pumpkins are to grow. Looked at it over the next 12 months and decided just to put a few acres in 2020, the year of COVID, which wasn't ideal. We did just about manage to open for one weekend of Pick Your Own, and it went well. We put 3 acres in, and we had quite a few people, but that was just through a few posts on Facebook, and it went well, so we decided to do it again the next year, and it's just grown beyond anything I ever thought it would, and now has become a big part of the business, really. To expand it further was a big decision because in a lot of ways it's at the wrong time of the year for us. It's right in the middle of potatoes. It's right in the middle of drilling. It's not a good time. It takes a lot of organising. Everything with the pumpkins is done through social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So we've got quite a good presence on there now. We've got quite a good following. You've obviously got to put stuff on all year round to keep people interested. It's grown now to what it is, and actually I think we've got it now to about, we couldn't cope with too many more people. This year was nice. It spread, the people seem to come more spread out because we're open from the first weekend of October right up to Halloween. So just weekends to start with, and then we open in half term and obviously end on the 31st of October. There's not much call for pumpkins on the 1st of November, so you've got to have everything sold by Halloween. I suppose really then the growth of the pumpkins was, we decided after the first 2 years it was quite successful, we sold a few wholesale as well. So then we started doing an acreage of wholesale pumpkins, running that alongside the pick your own. We did that for about 3 years, but I stopped that last year, the wholesale side, because that was too much to manage that, to manage the deliveries, the cost of the staff, it's all hand harvest. And it was a lot of hassle. It wasn't worth doing. So we knocked the wholesale on the head and then just completely concentrate on the pick your own. So I think we were growing up to 30 acres of pumpkins ourselves. The pick your own's always been about sort of 4 or 5 acres. But this year the pick your own was 6 acres. There's still some pumpkins left out there now. But having said that, the intention is always to grow too many, because the last person that comes wants the same choice as the first person that's arrived. So, you know, the last thing you want, particularly with everything being on social media, is bad feedback, you know, with no choice or whatever. So, you know, we accept the fact we'll have pumpkins left over. A big thing's been dealing with the public. As farmers, we don't get to do that very often. But the pumpkins now, we try and add something new to it every year. Alongside the pumpkins, we have always offered food, but we've had outside caterers in. This year we took the decision to take the food in-house. We got all the stuff, sorted our own cafe out, but with that was all the issues of having to get all the hygiene stuff done and all the staff training and all the rest of it. But Hannah and Izzy sorted all that out. They got a 5-star hygiene rating. That was a way we could also increase the income from the pumpkins, was to do our own food. And that's worked out well. We offer tractor and trailer rides to the families that come. They like that. We just sort of drive around the pumpkins with a proper sort of a proper trailer for them to sit on. There's a little shop there. There's photo opportunities are a big thing they like. So yeah, it's okay. It's good. And I think on the back of that, we're looking at a couple of other things to run alongside the pumpkins for next year to make the season a bit longer, really. Now we're used to it and we know a bit more about what we're doing and all the rest of it. Now we've got the right insurances and the right sort of, the farm stops really at weekends. Unless, if we're drilling, we'll get all the tack out the yard in the morning early before people start to come. But we can't load spuds over a weekend because all the parking that is the yard is full. So, can't afford to have children running around with potato bulkers and tractors and trailers. So we know that's got to stop. We work the farm around it now. I think the diversification is important, and I think it's it's an important part of the business now. I think we still want to keep the farming as the core of the business. It's just identifying the fact that you need something else there to just keep everything going, and that's what we're doing. And do I love it as much as I love farming? No, but it's something that's necessary, and yes, we will keep doing it. And it has its ups and its downs, but it brings a smile to everyone's face. So that's the main thing.
So obviously you're a combine driver as well, Harry. I suppose it comes to a certain time of year where you're trying to fit the cereals in around the spuds. Is there much of a clash, or?
This year wasn't too bad, to be fair, because the crops weren't great, were they? But everything was ready a bit earlier. We finished cutting and then did have a bit of a break between starting spuds, which is nice if it works like that. It doesn't always, but had a bit of a change this time. They've had how old is she? 13 plate. They've had a Massey combine for a long time. She didn't play the game that well last year. Had a few silly things go wrong with it, and we tried a class 760 Lexan this time, which, touch wood, she did go real well. Didn't have any problems with her.
You're making this sound like it was a group decision, but I still think you have quite a lot to do with this, Harry. I reckon you were a picky driver and you said you wanted a Lexia.
Picky driver? Well, I can't admit to that, can I? Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. The Lexan didn't break down at all, so that says something. Not saying that they don't, but she did go all right. The Massey, to be fair to it, does go well when it's not playing up. She just silly things. We had an input shaft go and in the gearbox, and then she wouldn't drive. Just I suppose it is just down to how much she's done. It seems madness trying to buy a new combine, considering the way the cereal job isn't that great, and it's a lot of money to spend on something that you don't really, only use for a month, if that. So
you've been out drilling recently as well. What drill are you running?
We've got a 6 metre horse Pronto, and we do have a combi drill as well. She doesn't come out that often, but
is that for desperate measures, is it?
Yeah, that is head scratching. Maybe the Pronto won't do quite such a good job. The Pronto does. It will go so far in the wet. I haven't really had it yet, so I can't comment too much. It's just nice to have the option if it does come sticky. At least we have got the combi drill that we can keep going with. But up to now, it's all gone in pretty tidy with the Pronto.
So the cereal side of the farm, we're growing wheat and barley, and then oilseed rape. Occasionally, just dependent on one thing or another, there may be a few peas or something in the rotation. All the winter barley is grown for seed for Wednesday. All the wheat this year is actually for seed as well. Oilseed rape's just conventional oilseed rape. We try to grow the cereals for anything we can with a premium, because our land doesn't necessarily offer us the chance to grow 5 tonne to the acre of wheat. It's not that sort of ground. You know, we've done 4, we can do 4. We certainly didn't do 4 tonne last year. I don't probably think many people did, but we try to aim at somewhere where there's a premium, so seed or malting, something like that, just to try and add a little bit more, to it. The cereal job's challenging, but we've got to stick with it to an extent. We can look at other cropping, but I think, you know, long term, I'm sure there's a future for cereals. It's just, you know, watching our costs, and we can't irrigate the cereals very often because we're always irrigating root crops. Occasionally we can do it. I don't actually see a lot of profit really in irrigating cereals. So I think if we can keep growing them for a premium market and we need them in the rotation, we'll continue to do what we're doing. So the cereal machinery, we traditionally were all, up until 7 or 8 years ago, mainly plough and combination drill, but then we recognised that, you know, we didn't need to be ploughing everything. We were running a Sumo Trio as well at the time, so we started with that, followed by the combination drill. Then when we needed a bit more output, we bought second-hand when we bought it again, 6 metre horse Pronto. It's not expensive to run compared to the combination. It's, you know, a huge amount cheaper. It's very versatile. We still plough sometimes. We don't tend to have a fixed cultivations policy in front of the drill. We do what's right on the day or for that field. So we will plough. The only thing we find with this land, if we're ploughing, we need to press it before we, as in on the plough, so we plough and press. The horse, she'll sink a bit in bare furrows on the light land. But behind the press it's fine. Sometimes if we've got some compaction issues or after potatoes, we will sumo still, just to get in a bit deeper. We bought again, second-hand horse Turano, 4 metre. We needed a bit more output in front of the drill, other than the sumo. And probably we didn't need to be working the ground at 12 inches every year. Having said that, we do run the Turano between 8 and 10 inches. Sometimes will go to 12. We only run the 50mm narrow points on it to allow it to go in that far, but they make a great job. And yeah, we like the horse stuff is good. It makes a lovely job. Quite often with the drilling as well being, our priority when we're going is potatoes. So we quite often don't go drilling till 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the season, and we can still go and drill 30 or 40 acres without a silly late night. If you do get a good day, you can go and put 100 acres in a day with this kit. Just takes the pressure off. And running costs of both the Terrano and the Pronto are a lot lower than ploughing and combination drilling. But having said that, I've never been brave enough to sell a combination that does get used occasionally, and it's useful for sowing bits of stewardship and stuff, corners and that sort of thing. But no, I wouldn't want to be without it, but our cultivation policy is very much to what suits that field on that day. I wouldn't just say we've got, hasn't got to be Terranoed and gone through the Pronto. If we need to, we can plough, we can sumo, we can subsoil, we can combi drill. And I think that's important to, especially with running a mixed rotation with roots and whatever in it, we can't just say that that's going to be min-tilled or it gives us options that I wouldn't want to be without, really.
You're still running the traditional planting method for the spuds, Harry. You said you're running 2 de-stoners now?
Yeah, 2 de-stoners and a GB215 Grimme planter. It seems to work pretty well. I know a lot of boys are going to this direct planting now. I don't think it's the way that Ed wants to go. Seems, if it works for them, and hopefully it does, but this way seems to work for us, especially on rented ground. You don't know it all, do you? So you don't know how stony it's going to be until you get in there, really. We're not really set up for having too much stone back at the grader. There's some impressive setups about, isn't there, with all these optical sorters, and it takes a lot of the stone out for you, but yeah, we haven't got that, so we are relying on just what we can get off the picking table. I don't think that would be the way for us. The plant, I thought it was going to take a lot to get my head around, but actually wasn't too bad. She seems to go all right. Impressive how fast you can get it to go if you want it to. Like we in some of the bigger fields, like longer runs, she'll stay at the right spacing up to about 10k. Which feels like you're moving.
So I think going forward with potatoes, obviously the job's challenging, but the whole agricultural sector's challenging at the moment. So that's nothing new. And I think just the climate in general for every business is challenging. The spud job's changed a lot, as I've said. It's now in the hands of less of the processors, and it's all ready-made stuff now, isn't it? No one wants to peel a dirty potato or wash it. They want it all to arrive in a frozen box or a packet of crisps. I think we've got to recognise that that's the way it's going. I think you've got to be committed to it. There is such a lot of uncertainty from processors. We're very lucky, I think, with who we're growing for, that they show us a lot of commitment and they help us a lot. We get a lot of backup, a lot of advice, if you like. But I do see, really, for us, we've made a commitment to the spud job. And I think that going forward, that's where I see a lot of the future. I think there's other crops we can add on that we're looking at also that would utilise spud machinery a bit better. You've got whatever you do, my view is you've got to be doing it right. If you're not doing it right, there's no point in bothering from the start. So cutting a cost back to just for the sake of cutting a cost to perhaps sacrifice something, other aspect of what you do of the job, I don't think's right. I think particularly with potatoes, we're on such a knife edge with them all that you've got to go flat out and hope that everything comes together. But if you get problems and they're created by something you've sort of thought, well, I'll leave that out, or we can get away with that, I don't agree with that. You've got to try and maximise every tonne you can get out of that crop. I think if you can put everything into them, you'd like to think you're going to get plenty out of them. That's not always the case, but I think if you're committed to it, that's the way I see it anyway. I think as long as you keep an open mind and you're confident in what you're doing, things will change. You'll make mistakes. I make loads of them. But as long as we learn from them and move forward, the world's got to eat. The UK's got to eat. We import a lot, but I don't think we can import everything. So there is a future. I'm certain of it. Exactly what it's going to be, I don't know. But I think as long as we can change and adapt, and as long as we've got people we can work with, then, you know, I see that going forward, I'd like to think there's a bit of a brighter future for all of us.